Did you know that Nintendo of America released misleading information about the F-Zero universe back in 1998 that to this day has caused confusion even among the most dedicated fans? F-Zero is one of the main franchises in Nintendo's history, so important that Captain Falcon, its main character, had made an appearance in all Super Smash Bros. Games since 1999, along with Nintendo's most important and iconic characters of all time. However, it feels like the franchise came to an end with the incredible F-Zero GX for the GameCube, as even F-Zero Climax, a Japan-exclusive F-Zero game, sold so poorly that Nintendo didn't bother to release it on this side of the world until 2024. In this Iceberg, we'll take a look at many interesting facts surrounding the franchise, including a move made by Nintendo of America that is basically full of lies and that almost put this Iceberg at risk. Welcome to the F-Zero Iceberg.
Say my name, Eisenberg. You're goddamn right.
Captain Falcon in Super Smash Bros. Not taking into account F-Zero AX and 99, Captain Falcon has been a selectable character in only 5 F-Zero games, the same number he's made an appearance in the Super Smash Bros. Series. Due to the lack of a real new F-Zero game, it's a guarantee that there are people who have no idea to what franchise Captain Falcon belongs to. Sure, elements like trophies and his final smash gives us information, but what I mean is that I'm sure not too many got to experience the adrenaline of playing his original game. F-Zero GX is a fantastic game, and I had a lot of fun getting footage by replaying it. I think that if Nintendo has no idea what to do with F-Zero, at least they should try to remaster F-Zero GX. 2 days after writing this, we received the news that F-Zero GX will be available on Nintendo Switch Online, a step in the right direction for newcomers to know what F-Zero is all about, although I'm a bit concerned that they might use this as an excuse not to release a new game in the franchise. Falcon Punch. Falcon Punch is a special move given to Captain Falcon in Super Smash Bros. It's so iconic that it was later adopted by the F-Zero anime, which in turn became a meme. It's one of the strongest special moves in the Super Smash Bros. Series, but it might be tricky to land as it takes some time to perform. Rainbow Road.
It's a road we're all gonna go. It's a road called Rainbow Road. It's got Princess Peach, Mario, and the Toad.
You might be familiar with the more popular Rainbow Road from the Mario Kart series, but if you played F-Zero X, I'm sure you remember it also had a Rainbow Road. On top of that, in the expansion kit released for the Nintendo 64 DD, we can hear a heavy metal remix of the original Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 64.
Miss you again, Uncle.
The Phantom Road in GX is a spiritual successor of this track, although it's unknown why the Rainbow Road wasn't included. F-Zero 99. Tetris 99 is Tetris with 99 players playing against each other to be the very best. Pac-Man also got this fun feature, and F-Zero, for some reason that I'm sure has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that there hadn't been an F-Zero game for almost 20 years, also got a game in the same style. Although I haven't played this game, it does look like fun, due to several features such as a sky highway the player can use when collecting super sparks, objects left by colliding machines, or being able to perform spins to damage other racers. I guess this game became a reminder for new players about what F-Zero is about, but I really hope that Nintendo is thinking seriously about making a new original F-Zero game for Nintendo Switch 2. As I mentioned before, F-Zero GX will be available on Nintendo Switch Online, but let's hope this doesn't stop them from releasing a new F-Zero. Star Fox Connections. I've talked about this in my Star Fox Iceberg, There are several connections between Star Fox and F-Zero. One of the most popular is that ending in Star Fox Command for Nintendo DS, in which Fox becomes depressed after Wolf and company become heroes of the Lylat system. Due to this, Fox and Falco pursue careers as racers by engineering their R-Wings into racing machines and compete in the G-Zero Grand Prix. Another very popular connection is that of James McCloud, who in the F-Zero universe was leader of the flight squad Galaxy Dog. He wears the same outfit as Fox McCloud's father, including a pair of sunglasses, and in the anime he had a partner called O'Donnell, a reference to Wolf O'Donnell. On top of that, the name Peppy Hare and Pig Madengar are also mentioned. Finally, the character Octoman, or a very similar character, makes an appearance in Star Fox Command. Talking about James McCloud, there are theories that say that the Star Fox leader who disappeared into a black hole in the Lylat system ended up in the F-Zero universe. However, this has been disproved by Nintendo. R.O.B the robot. A large-scale version of R.O.B, the NES peripheral, can be seen in Port Town Aerodive in F-Zero GX. Funnily enough, this stage would later debut in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, featuring the same character, who would eventually become playable in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. F-Zero AX. You might have heard about F-Zero AX if you played GX on the GameCube. Basically, GX is the console version, while AX is the arcade version that was available with a unique cabinet, including a seat with motion feedback and a steering wheel. While at the beginning AX has some unique racers, machines and tracks, all the content in the arcade version is unlockable in the home version. Captain Falcon's Twister Race. Back in 2012, the closest game we had to a new F-Zero was a solo attraction in Nintendo Land for the Wii U called Captain Falcon's Twister Race. Not too much to say about this, except you're not driving a real F-Zero machine, but a replica of the Blue Falcon with a wind-up key. But don't expect anything close to what F-Zero has to offer. Mr. EAD is based on Mario. In the same way that James McCloud is based on Fox's father, Mr. EAD is a homage to Mario, given that both are chunky characters with a mustache, and Mr. EAD's buckle looks like a superstar. He also likes Italian food and claims that he wants to wear overalls every day. Neo Blue Falcon. In F-Zero GX, Captain Falcon mentions he'd use his prize money to create the Neo Blue Falcon. This reminds me of the Super Falcon, exclusive to the F-Zero X expansion kit for the N64DD. This machine has ABA stats, meaning it's almost perfect. Oddly enough, a silver version of the Super Falcon can be found in the source code. Unlike its golden version, this machine does have perfect stats, although when accessed through cheats, the game will crash if a race is completed. F1 inspired F-Zero. In the instruction manual for F-Zero, we can see that the existence of the F-Zero competition drew inspiration from F1 races that took place on Earth centuries before the events of the game. Tekken Tag 2 Tournament Costume. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for the Wii U included Nintendo exclusive content such as costumes for several characters. One of them is Captain Falcon's outfit, and when playing with it, you do feel like you're playing with Captain Falcon because it includes the helmet and visor that covers his eyes. It's a shame that they didn't include the Falcon Punch in this game. F-Zero-like games. Although F-Zero is the most iconic game when it comes to futuristic racing games, there have been other interesting ones. An early example is Wipeout, released for the PlayStation back in 1995, 3 years before the release of F-Zero X. Even though it's possible to destroy other machines in F-Zero, the franchise has never introduced weapons such as in Wipeout or Extreme G, another racing game released by Acclaim in 1997 for the N64, with futuristic bikes and a killer soundtrack. Talking about killer soundtracks, if you're fond of psychedelic trance and high speed, then Redout 1 and 2 are for you. The speed, sound effects, music and graphics are incredible. The Fast series has also been compared to F-Zero, but it stands out due to its phase shift mechanic that can be used to take advantage of color pads to boost your machine depending on its color. If you want to experience F-Zero with an interesting twist in mechanics, try Fast RMX. Captain Falcon's moveset origin. Before Super Smash Bros. Became what it is, the game was known as Dragon King, the fighting game, and it didn't feature any Nintendo characters. In spite of this, one of the faceless characters featuring the prototype happens to have one of Captain Falcon's attacks in Super Smash Bros. Melee. This makes sense, considering that we had never seen Captain Falcon performing any action outside of his Blue Falcon, so they decided to recycle at least some of these beta moves to make Captain Falcon a fighting character in the Super Smash Bros. Series. Fighting wireframes. Wireframes are generic fighters in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and they fight like Captain Falcon and Zelda but without their special moves. They actually remind me of the original faceless fighters from the prototype of Super Smash Bros. Blood Falcon in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Did you know that you could play as Captain Falcon's clone Blood Falcon in Super Smash Bros. Melee? If you don't believe me, choose Captain Falcon, change his outfit to red, and take a look at his back. Being a clone of Captain Falcon, it's no wonder that he has the same moveset as his good counterpart. Okay, we're not strictly speaking about Blood Falcon being a playable character, but this detail is something that many players weren't aware of. The Creator. This entry refers to the supreme being of the F-Zero universe. In the last chapter of the story mode in F-Zero GX, you're able to compete against it in the shape of a Blue Falcon. Not too much is known about it, other than it's responsible for creating the whole universe, including entities such as Deathborn, the main antagonist of F-Zero GX. Mute City is future New York. According to the F-Zero GP Legend anime and video game, Mute City is a future version of New York. This contradicts the video game lore, as this place was formerly known as Mutant City, and has nothing to do with New York. F-Zero X Expansion Kit. This refers to the N64DD cartridge for F-Zero X that allowed players to access 12 new courses, a car editor, and a track creator, a tool that the F-Zero X designers used themselves to create the original tracks. It's a shame we never got access to this expansion on this side of the world, as it could have added thousands more hours of gameplay compared to the original, a game that already had an average score of 9 out of 10. Mr. EAD's brother was turned into an F-Zero machine. We know that Mr. EAD is based on Mario due to some elements already explained. However, one bizarre thing about him is that for some reason, something happened to his brother and he ended up turned into an F-Zero machine called the Great Star. Wombo Combo. Wombo Combo refers to a quote derived from a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament in which players Silent Spectre and Tank, playing as Captain Falcon and Fox respectively, perform an inescapable combo to player Lucky. You're watching the video in question, and to this day it has gained over 22 million views. F-Mega. There's an episode of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime where Kakyoin plays a video game against Terrence Darby. The game in question is a nod to F-Zero called F-Mega, as we can see the cars performing spin attacks and the tracks are quite similar to F-Zero's. Chao on UFO. We know that Sega was in charge of developing F-Zero GX. Due to this, it was believed that the characters on the UFO that restored your F-Zero machine were Chao. However, a closer inspection reveals that these characters are completely different. F-Zero Climax. F-Zero Climax is the third and final F-Zero game for the Game Boy Advance. However, it's in the Iceberg because it didn't release outside of Japan until a year ago when it launched for the Nintendo Switch Online server. There's not too much to say about it other than you could create your own tracks, similar to the F-Zero X expansion kit. Zero Racers. We all know the disaster that the Virtual Boy became, with those headache-inducing red and black colors and the portability of a landline. Thankfully, Zero Racers, an F-Zero game for the Virtual Boy, was never released. Captain Falcon's second clone. What do Captain Falcon and Ganondorf have in common? You're right, they're both male. Okay, in all seriousness, this refers to the fact that besides Blood Falcon being Captain Falcon's clone, in the Super Smash Bros. Universe, Ganondorf debuted as a Captain Falcon clone in terms of his moveset. As the last character added to Melee and with a similar body shape, Masahiro Sakurai decided to make Ganondorf a slower but more powerful version of Captain Falcon. Accidents in F-Zero. The F-Zero universe has to be one of the most dangerous, given that pilots can reach speeds up to 2000 km per hour on extremely challenging tracks, and with some very aggressive pilots. An example of this happened during an accident where Captain Falcon was hospitalized 4 years prior to F-Zero GX and his DNA was stolen, resulting in the creation of Blood Falcon. In another accident 3 years prior to F-Zero X, Mighty Gazelle was turned into a cyborg after his body was destroyed. A similar case happened to the Skull, who was brought back to life with the aid of magic and technology, as he was a racer that perished in a competition known as F-Max, a predecessor of the F-Zero Grand Prix. There's also a made-up event by Nintendo of America known as the Horrific Grand Finale, in which 14 racers perished, but we'll take a look at that deeper in the Iceberg. Unused audio. There are some unused voice clips found within the data of F-Zero GX that are similar to some lines found in F-Zero X. Take a listen.
First place! Bingo! Too bad you lost your machine. You got your machine. Clear! Goal! Danger! Hurry up! Draw!
Psychedelic pilot profile movies. The F-Zero universe deals with incredible speed, powerful machines, state-of-the-art technology, adrenaline, and extreme danger, as all racers put their lives on the line by pursuing the greatest glory in the F-Zero Grand Prix. Nonetheless, there's a huge contrast between this and the pilot profile movies of most of the F-Zero GX characters. Just take a look at Dr. Stewart. F-Zero GX killed the franchise. Can you imagine a game so good that even its creators admitted that they haven't released another game of the franchise because they can't see any way to improve it? This is the case of F-Zero GX and the reason why we haven't seen an original F-Zero game in over 20 years. According to Shigeru Miyamoto's words, I think where I struggle is that I don't really have a good idea for what's new that we could bring to F-Zero that would really turn it into a great game again. Nintendo is without a doubt the most innovative video game company in the world. And we've seen this many times, not only in its games, but in its consoles. What I think is that Nintendo hasn't really focused on the franchise because they concentrate on more profitable ones, as the F-Zero franchise has suffered from a sequel slump, given that each installment has sold less than its predecessor. I asked ChatGPT about ideas for a new F-Zero game, and here are some that stand out, so if you're in touch with Miyamoto, you might want to share this info with him. Dynamic track morphing. Tracks that shift in real time during races. Sections can rise, fall, or split apart dynamically based on lap count, player position, or even randomized triggers. Think about a mix between Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity and Wipeout's twisting tracks, but even more unpredictable. Open Zone Exploration Mode. Between races, explore huge futuristic cities like Mute City, Port Town, and Big Blue. Drive freely, find hidden challenges, participate in illegal street races, and even bounty hunt as Captain Falcon. Real-time weather and track conditions. Imagine racing through Big Blue with waves crashing onto the track, or sand ocean with a shifting sandstorm affecting visibility, dynamic rain, lightning, fog, and track temperature affecting handling and speed. Honestly, ChatGPT has come up with some pretty good ideas. Let me know in the comments what new mechanics you'd suggest to help revive the franchise. Phoenix is Captain Falcon. Who exactly Phoenix is a complete mystery. All we know is that he comes from the 29th century, 3 centuries ahead of the events of F-Zero GX. He participates in the F-Zero Grand Prix to stop a criminal from changing the history of the entire universe. Once his work is done, he intends to travel to the 32nd century to stop another criminal. However, what's more interesting about him is his striking resemblance to Captain Falcon. Is he maybe a descendant? F-Zero GX Secret Techniques. If you've played GX, I'm sure you heard about a technique called snaking. Snaking is generally done with machines such as Fat Shark or Black Bull, but it's better with certain custom machines. First, you need to set acceleration to max. Once in the race, all you need to do is to press the L button and hold left on the analog stick, then let go of L, press the R button and hold right on the analog stick, and repeat the process. This will allow you to go at a higher speed than normal. However, it's an extremely exhausting technique. MT or momentum throttling refers to a technique where your machine retains more speed by briefly releasing the accelerator after using a boost, rather than continuously holding the A button. It's a complex mechanic that user SDA Negleria explains in a series of videos and spreadsheets, a truly dedicated F-Zero player. Another hidden mechanic that many of us discovered, especially on the lateral shift track, is shift boost. A shift boost happens when your machine loses the ground for a brief moment and then it goes back onto the track. This action grants your machine double the speed for a single frame and then decelerates from that moment. This is one of the riskiest tricks in the game, especially because failing means losing the race. This technique looks incredible on a task by Crazy Game Nerd, in which he is able to reach an insane speed of over 11,000 kilometers. BS F-Zero Grand Prix. BS F-Zero Grand Prix is a remixed version of the original F-Zero, released exclusively in Japan for the Satellaview, an add-on for the Super Famicom. This unique version allowed players to experience the game in a broadcast format, where races were available at specific times, accompanied by live commentary and CD quality music. Each week, a different cup was playable. The first 3 weeks featured the same cups from the original F-Zero, while the fourth introduced the brand new Ace League. This new set of tracks included Mute City 4, Big Blue 2, Sandstorm 1, Silence 2, and Sandstorm 2. Additionally, 4 new machines, Blue Thunder, Luna Bomber, Green Amazon, and Fire Scorpion were added to the roster. The sequel BS F-Zero Grand Prix 2 expanded on this with 2 new sets of tracks, Forest 1, 2, and 3, and Metal Fort 1 and 2, which were broadcast across 2 separate weeks. However, this content has been lost for over 2 decades until now, or at least partially. In an effort to preserve the history of the franchise, the F-Zero subreddit community offered a $5,000 bounty for playable BSX cartridge dumps or ROMs containing the Forest and Metal Fort tracks. One day after Did You Know Gaming released a video covering these titles, week 1 of BS F-Zero Grand Prix 2 was found, bringing with it the Forest 1 and 2 tracks. Half of the bounty was paid to the anonymous contributor, but week 2, which contains the elusive Metal Fort tracks, remains undiscovered. Although the ROM for these tracks hasn't been found, there's footage of Metal Fort provided by a Japanese YouTuber. An F-Zero ROM hack called BS F-Zero Deluxe includes all F-Zero tracks mentioned here, and even Metal Fort, although these tracks were visually recreated. Nintendo Switch F-Zero Prototype. In an attempt to make a new F-Zero game, former Nintendo programmer Giles Goddard recently made an F-Zero prototype using 30 cars with ultra-realistic physics. He was in touch with Nintendo, who told him that his team didn't have enough people to make it. Charles said that he needed money to hire more people, but Nintendo couldn't provide money because the team was small. He wanted to release this game for Nintendo Switch, but of course it never happened. He also promised to release the prototype for free. However, this action could have put Goddard's game studio Chuhai Labs at risk for legal issues, and he preferred not to take the risk. Snaky lore. In 1998, a website about F-Zero X containing unique information on the lore of F-Zero and its racers was published by Nintendo of America. It's expected that newly released games have their own websites, but the information found on this now unavailable site heavily contradicts many events or facts already established in the F-Zero franchise. For example, certain pilots have made-up names, such as the infamous case of Douglas J. Falcon, Captain Falcon's alleged full name. The amount of false information is absolutely insane. There's mention of an F-Zero Academy or a horrific grand finale that involved the death of 14 racers and that never happened. The consequence of the existence of this website has led some F-Zero wikis and even Wikipedia itself to get many things wrong. I actually had to rewrite a couple of things on this Iceberg because I fell victim of this phenomenon until I read the contradicting facts and corrected everything. I hope. On top of that, the website hosted a webcomic with weekly issues that has become lost media. The only surviving picture is the one on screen, and it probably expanded on the made-up content by Nintendo of America. The term snaky lore was coined by an investigator called the Noble 115 to describe the bizarre content of the website, and to this day, its impact can be felt on a lot of information out there about F-Zero. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to Eisenberg, where I mainly talk about Pokemon icebergs. See you in the next one.